Oh, hey guys, what's up? Ray Torres here. I'm at a new location now, so I'm here at the Forge Fitness in Connecticut. Now, new location, new haircut, and we have a new video coming at you, okay? So please stay tuned for our squat video. So, when you're doing a squat, it's very important to do it properly, because if not, a lot of things can go wrong. And I mean, a lot of things. Hey everyone, so for today's video, we're gonna be going over squats. We're gonna be going over what are the important things that we need to look for, and we're gonna be going over also the things that you should know to make sure that you're doing things correctly. So the first movement that we're gonna be going over is gonna be back squats. That's the one that everybody pretty much knows and does fairly often. And then another one that has become recently more popular has become front squat. So that'll be the second one that we'll go over. So stay tuned for the rest of the video. So now that we're gonna be going through a back squat, the things that we're gonna be focusing on is first getting underneath the bar. When we're doing the back squat, once you are underneath the bar, the goal is to squeeze your shoulder blades back as much as you guys possibly can, keeping your chest up. Once you're ready, you can stand up with the bar, walk yourself back a little bit, adjust your feet to have your feet a little bit wider. From there, focus on keeping the toes pointed out just a little bit, because having those toes pointed out just about 10 or 15 degrees can allow a deeper squat and have a little bit more mobility in your hips. Now, once you're ready, before you squat, the most important part is brace down onto your core, leading with your hips will slightly come back, and then that's where you're gonna focus on coming down into that full squat. Once you've gotten to that bottom, still maintaining that core tight, the chest up, you're gonna be standing all the way up, finishing that rep. Now, the farther and farther you go along into your set, you're going to be noticing that it's going to be working on your hips, your glutes, your hamstrings, and your lower back. So that's why it's important to make sure that we maintain a nice tight form. Now there's some common mistakes that people make when doing the back squat, and these are the kind of things that you want to avoid doing. The first thing that you want to avoid is having our knees cave in. So when you're squatting down or on the way down or on the way up of our back squat, we want to make sure that our knees stay directly over our toes. We don't want them caving in, or we don't want them going too far wide where they're outside of our feet, because that can cause a lot of discomfort in our knees and our ankles. The second thing we're going to be making sure that we don't do is having an excessive forward lean. When we squat down to the very bottom of our squat, the goal is to make sure that the bar doesn't lean us forward and doesn't fold us in half. So by that, we want to make sure that we still maintain our chest upright as much as we possibly can and squeeze our shoulder blades like we were talking about earlier. The last thing that we want to make sure that you avoid is do not lead with your knees. Anytime we don't push our hips back first to engage that back squat, we'll end up pushing our knees forward and putting an extreme amount of pressure on our knees first, then continuing with the movement. So to avoid further knee pain, we want to make sure that we always lead with our hips back and not leading with our knees. So now that we went over back squat and the common mistakes, we're going to touch on a little bit on the front squat. With the front squat, the elbows are going to be in a different position. Our elbows are going to be in front of us instead of behind us. Now the important part is to make sure that they don't come down. The reason why is because we can put a lot of pressure on our wrists, we can put a lot of pressure on our forearms, and if their elbows are too far down, you can squat and hit your knees. If you do that, that puts an extreme amount of pressure on your wrist, and it can even injure your wrists. So we want to make sure that we keep our elbows up as much as we possibly can. Now, once we have our elbows up and not down, we can focus on keeping our weight on our heels and not onto our toes, because that's where it really matters, especially with a front squat. We want to make sure that our weight isn't pulling us forward, because if the weight's forward, then you're going to go forward, and that's when you don't have the weight anymore. So we want to avoid keeping our weight on our toes as much as we possibly can. The last thing that we need to go over when it comes to front squat common mistakes is the loosening of the upper back. Sometimes instead of staying nice and upright as much as we possibly can, people allow their upper back to round because the weight pulls them down, which will also naturally cause our elbows to come down. So you see, it's a chain reaction. So we want to make sure everything stays nice and tight, including our upper back, by squeezing those shoulder blades back as much as we possibly can. And that should help to make the rest of that movement a little smoother. So the 3 different ways that you guys can hold a front squat, the goal eventually is going to be the conventional, which is going to be having your hands just outside of your shoulders, coming down underneath, pushing those shoulders up. That way the bar sitting right across from your shoulders as you step back, and have the bar supported up as much as you possibly can. The second way that you guys can do a front squat is with your arms crossed. So we come underneath the bar, support it on our shoulders, cross one arm, so right hand to the left shoulder, left hand to the right shoulder, elbows up, and then we'll stand up and support the bar as much as we possibly can. All right, so the last way that we can do a front squat is using straps. So we'll put them right towards the edge of the smooth part of the bar, coming underneath the bar, supporting it with our shoulders, having our hands up as much as we can with our elbows across the room as much as possible. And here, the higher we have our elbows, the more supported we'll be. So now that you guys understand a little bit more about the back and the front squat, this is something that if you guys are looking to gain some strength, it should definitely be a staple in your exercise routine. So consistently challenge yourself with some of the weight. If you guys aren't going up drastically, no big deal. Take your time. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. So now that we've gone over how serious squatting is, make sure that when you guys are squatting, you guys have nice tight form to make sure that you guys can get all the gains absolutely possible. Like and subscribe. Feel free to follow me on my Instagram. It's gonna be down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.